Good morning, students. How are you all? This is my third lecture for curriculum studies. In the previous two classes, we have studied about the concepts such as meaning and nature of curriculum. In that, we have defined curriculum as it is it is the word derived from a Latin word which is known as currere, which shows path or laid down the way through which a learner can walk and achieve his or her objectives. We also defined curriculum as an overall learning experiences which an individual gets in an institute or school. Here we are talking about the overall learning experiences which is going to include his teaching learning process, his co-curricular things, extracurricular things. Here we'll be talking about sports activity, dramas, musics, practicals, lectures. These are all overall learning experiences which an individual gets in a school so that he or she can achieve his goals, educational goals. So this is the simplest definition of curriculum. After that, we have also discussed about the elements of curriculum. So basically it has got four elements, in which the very first is objectives, then second is the content, third is the learning experiences, and the fourth one is the evaluation part. These are elements can be defined as these are nothing but the components out of which curriculum is developed. Okay, now before we go ahead, I would like to recommend few books for curriculum studies. The first one is by S.S. Chauhan, Curriculum Studies by S.S. Chauhan. It is a very good book. And the second one is The Handbook of Curriculum and Instructions, given by J.C. Agarwal. So, net set point of view, these two books are very important. Even from your MEd examination point of view, these two things are very important. Now, we are going to proceed for the third lecture of curriculum studies. Today we are going to study more in detail about stages of curriculum development. From exam point of view, you might get the question like explain process of curriculum development, or explain or write different stages of curriculum development. No matter अगर दोनों भी question आते हैं, what you have to write? You have to write the same answers. Okay, so now let us start with today's class, that is emphasized more on stages of curriculum development. Basically it has got 7 stages, right? The first stage talks first let us discuss what are the stages, and we'll explain each and every stage in detail. Okay, the first stage is diagnosing the needs. Okay, second one is formulating the specific objectives. Third one is selecting the content. The fourth one is organizing the content. Fifth is selecting the learning experiences. Sixth is organizing the learning experiences, and the very last stage is evaluation. Okay, so first was diagnosing the needs, and the last one is evaluation. Now let us discuss what comes under the stage 1. So stage 1 talks about diagnosing the needs. So what it tells about, now basically it leads to understanding the prime needs of the stakeholders. Now you might be thinking about what is meant by stakeholders. Now under this stage, the curriculum makers or the curriculum developers try to understand the needs of the stakeholders we are talking in context to who are the stakeholders. If we are talking about MEd curriculum, who are the stakeholders? The students, the teachers, the institute, school, university, society, community, nation, or in a larger context we'll talk about globe. So these are the stakeholders. What are their expectations from the curriculum, right? So we consider their needs. We, in the sense, the curriculum makers, those who are making the curriculum, they try to find out what are their expectations from current curriculum. Okay, so for that, for this purpose, what the curriculum makers do, they conduct varied pilot studies. Pilot studies are nothing but they conduct small research, and then they also do various intensive observations. Surveys are been carried out. Okay, now see, try to understand. I hope you all are doing your research. Okay, in your chapter 1 you might have written proposal. Okay, and what is expected under the in proposal, there is a column called significance of the study. There you all might have written the output of the present research will be applicable to to the policy makers as well as the curriculum developers. Means the outcomes of the research will be very useful to the curriculum developers. So somewhere I can try to understand nowadays. You see there are many national conferences happening all over the cities in MEd colleges or BEd colleges. There are many state level conferences happening, international conferences happening. So the main purpose of this conference or seminars are, these are been arranged so that the outcomes of this seminars or conferences would be used while framing the curriculum. So this is the very first thing, diagnosing the needs. Okay, now we'll go to the second stage. Now what second stage talks about? Second stage talks about formulating specific objectives. Okay, now what is expected over here? Okay, now the once the diagnosis has been done, it provides clues to formulate necessary objectives, which leads to generate richer learning. Now what happens over here? Once the diagnosis has been done, okay, on these parameters we have to form certain objectives. Now objectives are framed in such a way so that we expect the one who will be enrolling, the student who will be enrolling for that particular course. Now suppose you all have enrolled for a med course, so the expectation of the teachers from you all is to see you your development as an overall development. We try to see overall development of an individual here. Whenever we are talking about overall development of an individual, we consider three domains, that is cognitive domain, affective domain and psychomotor domain. Here what is expected, what kind of a development is expected, we see here developing various skills, right, developing various abilities, developing various attitudes, feelings, sensitivities towards the sensitive topics. Okay, so these comes under formulation of specific objective, that is the second stage. Now moving ahead towards the third stage, what third stage talk about? Selecting the content. Here what it says, based on the diagnosis of the needs and tentative selection of the objectives, it is much easier to go for the content selection. Now what does it mean? Means three things has to be considered while selecting the content, in which the first come is selecting the topic, selecting the basic ideas and selecting the specific content. Okay, now for example in a med curriculum, when we are focusing on the third stage of curriculum development, that is selecting the content. Here we say what here our main focus is going to what to include and what not to include. Are you getting me? Means suppose we have got many subjects over here, right? For example,